go. Do you have any questions for me before we get started? No?
A quick question.
Yeah, Justin.
How do we access the class recordings?
So have any of you had success looking at the presentation recordings? No? So I posted them on Canvas. So I think you should be able to access them there. When did you last try to access them?
I guess I'm confused on where to look to find them.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, can you see all that? So down here, there's week 4 class session presentations and week 5 class session presentations. So if you presented last week, you're in this group. So that's like about 2 hours of recordings. And if you kind of think about where you presented in the order on that day. So for example, if you were presenter number 6, go in about an hour into the time and you'll find yours because every presentation took about 10 minutes. So you should find yours about that time. And if you presented on the 27th, then you're in the week 4 class session presentations. And I strongly encourage you to take a look at your presentation and take a look at yourself presenting. It's a unique opportunity. Oftentimes when you give a presentation, you're not recorded. And in this case, you have been recorded, which I've always wanted to do in this class and never really had a good way to do it. And now we do. So.
Yeah, so when I go under home,
Mm-hmm.
scroll down, I still don't know where to find where those presentations are.
Yeah, I just did the same and couldn't find anything.
We can only do week 3. So like after week 3, we don't have anything. Yeah.
Okay, I think I just fixed it. Sorry about that. Now I know why. And the reason why is because it wasn't checked. Okay, so you should be good now. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking that question, Justin. And for those of you who looked in frustration before, I am very sorry about that. All right. Any other questions? No. All right. So let me ask you all a question then. From your recollections of the presentations that were given in the last 2 class sessions, what are some things that you take away as being really good?
I think all the slides were really well done and worked well with.
I think everyone seemed very professional.
All right, so Olivia just said that she thought the slides were good on the presentations that she looked at, and then Janelle, I didn't catch what you said.
I said everyone seemed very professional when they were presenting.
Yeah, I was really impressed. I thought that you all were very well spoken for the most part, and that the presentations or the papers that you picked, you had a very good understanding and command of. So good job. Anything else?
Yeah, I felt that it was just kind of interesting to see everyone chose a topic that they were interested in. And it was cool to see like kind of the wide variety, even though it was all within the same sort of type of science-y paper.
Yeah, and you all are from either environmental earth and soil science or environmental management and protection. And there was a wide variety of topics and I guess sectors of environmental sciences, environmental and environmental management that were represented, which kind of leads into what we're going to talk about today, which is interviewing, and we're also going to talk about the final presentation that you're going to give, which is about the plan that I'm going to have you create for the next 5 years and then 10 years after Cal Poly, what that looks like. And your interests certainly are going to dictate what that plan is going to look like. Anything else?
I thought that the openers were really interesting, and I really liked how it would easily flow from the opener to the presentation, the start of the presentation. I found that really cool, really good.
Yeah, and I would agree with that too. I think, what Allie's picking up on is many of you had a really good opener that did a couple things. One, it drawed your audience in, which was us, and then it also connected your topic to us in a way maybe that we hadn't thought about. So that was really good. Anything else?
Thought everyone dressed professionally as well.
Yes. Yeah. You looked professional too. So there were a lot of great things about your presentations, and I think after you have the chance to look at yourself giving a presentation, you'll, I think, get a good appreciation for the things that you did well. And if you're like me, you'll probably be very critical of yourself. And I encourage you not to be hypercritical of yourself. I encourage you to take it as a learning and growth opportunity. But I do want to remind you of a couple things. And here's just some notes that I took for you to be considering as you think about giving other presentations. And when you're thinking about your slides, try and think about the fact that you don't want them to be too text rich. So one of the things that we talked about before was 4 bullet points per slide, and make your bullet points 1 line. And since you have, a certain area of space right on your slides, try and use that whole space. So don't group your bullet points together in just one section. Try and spread them out if you can. And be careful to use images and figures or some kind of diagram on every single slide when you're giving a presentation, because the presentation is supposed to be visual. For your slide titles, be mindful of that, to use a descriptive heading on the title of the slide so that your audience knows where you're at in your presentation. Always avoid using tables, right? Especially when you're presenting data. In written form, it's okay, but in a presentation type of outlet, a table is generally very difficult to follow and very difficult to get a lot out of. So avoid those. And I think this is where I saw the most difficulty, actually, and this might be surprising to you, is the time. So many of you were over time. And so our time allotment was 8 to 9 minutes. And many of you talked for 10, or in some cases more. So just remember that when you're given a time limit, you need to adhere to that time limit. And I think the way to alleviate the constraints around time, if you're given a time limit, is practice a lot, right? And I think that helps with that. And this is something with the the format that we have for giving a presentation, that is giving them online by sharing your screen and doing it in Zoom, is, I don't know if all in the audience heard this, but I remember hearing this for a lot of presentations, is the banging of the space bar. You know, I don't know, can you hear that? Can you hear that? Yes. So it comes across as pretty loud when you're on the audience side. So I don't know if there's a way to alleviate that. Maybe use the arrow keys instead of the space bar, or maybe just be really cognizant of that, is that it's a small thing, right? But it can be a little bit distracting. And let's see. Oh, if you are gonna take a diagram or an image or a figure from the internet or copied from a source that you use to derive your presentation from, remember that you don't need the caption, right? The caption is only important in a written document, but in the presentation format, you're the one who's explaining that caption. All right? And if the quality of the reproduction is poor, then reformat it. And I know that some of you did that in your presentations. And for those of you that did not, I would encourage you to consider doing that in the presentations that you give going forward, because it makes your slides look much better. Any questions about those comments? So I have uploaded the rubrics that I've filled out, and hopefully you have uploaded the rubrics that you've filled out to the OneDrive folder. I uploaded my rubrics to the Canvas grade sheet along with your scores. So those are all posted now. And I will this week finish your second draft of your resumes and cover letters. Okay. And then today you turned in like your Odyssey plan worksheet. And your Odyssey plan worksheet is something that you will use to create your Odyssey plan, which is what your final presentation will be about your Odyssey plan. So we'll talk a little bit about that later on today. So today what we have on deck is we're going to talk about interviewing, because next week and the week after we'll do mock interviews. We're going to talk about Odyssey plans, and probably around 4, Megan Groom is going to come and talk to you about your degree progress. And she and her peer advisors prepared an individual degree progress report. That is to say, they kind of did what our graduation evaluator does for you when you're getting ready to graduate. And she did it for you with her peer advisors up to whatever point you're at in your degree progress now. So I sent you an email with a PDF of your degree progress just before class. So when she comes, just be ready to pull that up, okay? Okay, any questions? All right, so let's talk about the schedule of things going forward. I'll pull that up. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Sorry. You're not looking at a PDF screen, are you? That is to say, you are not looking at, well, are you looking at it now?
No.
No. So what I was hoping that you'd be looking at right now is something that says interview rubric 2.
It was just up and then it went away.
Oh, it's just up and then it went away. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah.
Good? Okay. So here is our schedule going forward. And essentially what I've done is I reversed the order of things from this last set. So for your research article, if you went in the first group, you're going to go in the second group. So if we look at our interview date and our interview time, so this first group from Allie all the way to Catherine, your interview date is on June 1st. And the order in which you're going to be interviewed is starting with Allie, next is Isabella, and then Emma and Spencer and so forth. Okay. Your interviews are going to last 10 minutes. If we talk about the other group of people, and we'll start with, let's see, Natalie, and then Siobhan, and then Justin, and so forth. You all are interviewing next week. And so what I'm going to do for these different groups of people interviewing is I'm going to send you an invite to another Zoom or a different Zoom meeting than the one that we use for class. Okay? And what's going to happen in the time that you interview, so for example, next week, Natalie's the first one to go. And we're going to start the interviews right at 3 o'clock. And so I'll ask you, or in the Zoom invite that I give you, when you log in, you're going to go to a waiting room. And when it's your turn to interview, I'll invite you into the interview room. Okay? And so, for example, when Natalie goes, the people who will be interviewing her will be me and then a professional. And the professional is generally going to be in the leadership field or the environmental science field or environmental management field. Okay. And the other panelists and I are going to ask about 5 questions, right? And those 5 questions are going to be related to, in some cases, related to the job that Natalie and all of you have prepared for in your resume and cover letter, right? So you've all prepared a resume and cover letter, and that resume and cover letter is geared towards a specific position that you're interested in. And so the questions that we are going to ask are going to be related to that. Okay? So that'll take about 7 or so minutes, the questions will. And then we'll have about 3 or so minutes for feedback. And then when it's Siobhan's turn to go, Natalie will stay and she'll become an interview panelist and she'll help ask some of the questions. And then when Siobhan's done, we'll give Siobhan feedback. And when Siobhan's done, Natalie will log off and Siobhan will stay and she'll be a panelist for Justin and so forth. Okay. So if you're interviewing in the June 1st group, you do not need to show up next week. All right. And if you're interviewing in the May 18th group, you don't need to show up on June 1st, except for Caitlin. All right. And so Caitlin, here's what I like you to do is, Caitlin, you're going to be a panelist on Allie's interview. Okay. So you just show up right at 3 o'clock on June 1st, and you'll be a panelist. And then once that interview is done, then you'll log off and you'll be done for the day. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, great. Do you have any questions about how the interviews are going to go? So this is a formal interview. So you want to wear formal attire like you did in your presentation. And we're going to practice with some questions in a little bit. But are you good? And you'll probably be nervous. And that's normal and that's okay. What's one way to help with your nerves?
Practicing.
Practice. Yeah. And so when Krista was here talking to us about interviewing, she informed you of a couple tools that are available to you, right? One is Big Interview. Big Interview is an online tool that Cal Poly has a license for that will ask you some questions and record you, and then you can go back and watch that. You can do this with someone else over Zoom. You can do this with a family member, but it's a good idea to practice and think about what types of questions might be asked, and so that you have an answer to them. And the other thing to think about is that remember that the interview time period is like 10 minutes, right? And questions that you're going to get are 7 to 8 minutes. So in the 4 to 5 questions that we're going to ask, you want to be relatively concise so that you take, a minute or so for them, right? You don't want to be too long-winded, but you don't want to be too concise either. So you need to strike a good balance. Here's a good example. A couple of years ago, we were interviewing someone for a soil ecology position, and that's the position that Dr. Sisla now has. And there was one person that we interviewed, and when we started, I told that person, I said, you have 30 minutes, or we've allotted 30 minutes for this interview. We have about 10 questions, right? And so you think, okay, about 3 minutes per response, right? And so then we got started, and the very first question, he was talking, and it was 3 minutes, and then it was 5 minutes, and at 5 minutes, I said, we have other questions that we need to ask you, and so it would be good if you kind of wrap this one up so we could get to the next one. And he didn't. He just kept going till we were 12 minutes in, right? And so that just showed me that he was probably not the right person to hire for the job, because he wasn't paying attention to the time that he was allotted, and he wasn't really I guess tracking with sort of the guidelines of the interview. And when you're getting an interview, and you probably experienced this, generally the interview committee needs to ask the exact same questions to everybody that's interviewing, right? And so if you can't get through all your questions, then you don't have a good means to assess that person who's being interviewed. So just be thinking about that as you go forward. Any questions, any other questions about the interview schedule? No? Siobhan, you good? Yep. All right. So let me show you the rubric that we'll use. So here's the rubric, and I'll make it a little bit bigger. So the rubric is based upon the university learning objectives and the program learning objectives that we have in our department. And so I've tried to create some questions that relate to some of the specific components of the program learning objectives that you have for your major. And some of them are to demonstrate proficiency in quantitative skills, demonstrate critical thinking and problem solving skills, demonstrate critical thinking and problem solving skills, demonstrate the ability to integrate and apply technical knowledge, and exhibit an understanding of ethics and your ethical responsibility. So questions that we're going to ask are going to be trying to get at those program learning objectives to hopefully assess that you have gained some of those skills. Okay, and then on the back side, it mostly has to do with effective communication. Excuse me. And I'll assess appearance, your body language, your preparedness, your clarity, and how well you stayed on topic and kept to the time limit. Okay? Questions about any of that? Liam?
I didn't raise my hand. I was grabbing something.
Okay. Other thoughts or questions? Okay. So then, let's talk about this. Okay, so wait a second. There we go. So this is what we're talking about today. Like I said, interviewing and your final presentation. And this first slide, I know it's kind of a cheesy picture, but I thought it was kind of funny. So one thing, of course, to consider is your appearance, and you all pretty much did a great job on that last time. So I don't think I need to talk about that unless you have a question about this. And do you? No? Let us proceed then. So there's a couple YouTube video clips that you can look at that I'm not going to go over now that give you an idea of some interviewing strategies and some things to consider, but I thought it'd be most helpful to just talk about a couple things and then give you time to practice with a couple other people. Okay? Okay. So this slide, right, in order to be mentally, physically, and emotionally prepared for a presentation, or sorry, not a presentation, but an interview, you want to make sure that you know the entity to which you are applying, right? Because almost always they're going to ask you a very, very common question that I think I've asked in every single interview that I've done with somebody else and in interviews that I've gone through. And so lately, in the last couple years, I've been applying to international programs to lead Cal Poly students to different countries abroad. And the first question that they always ask me is, why do you want to lead a group of Cal Poly students to wherever, right? And you might get the question of, why are you interested in the environmental scientist 1 position at AECOM, right? If that's a position that you're applying to. Or why are you interested in the environmental planning position with the city of San Francisco, right? You might get a question like that. And there's a really good strategy to answer that question. Since this is usually the first question that people ask you, it's really good to start off well when you're thinking about this, okay? So let's talk about some strategies. So let's say that the question was, why are you, Madeline, let's say, and I'm not picking you out and I'm not expecting you to answer this question unless you want to, but why are you interested in the environmental planner position for the city of Oceanside in Southern California? Okay, so Madeline, you don't necessarily have to answer this question. I'm opening this up to all of you. In general terms, what's the strategy for answering that question? And I'll give you a hint. There's 2 things that you should probably talk about in your answer. Spencer, what do you think? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Maybe mention something that you value of the company and why you chose to apply for that company rather than somewhere else.
Absolutely. So that's one critical component, like Brianna said, right? So what is it about the entity to which you have applied that is very attractive, right? And you can kind of think about this in the first paragraph of your cover letter, right? In the first paragraph of your cover letter, you're kind of indicating that you found this job and you're indicating how you found it or where you found it. And then it's working for this entity, and that you're really interested in this entity because they have certain qualities that are attractive to you, or something like that. And you want to be pretty specific, right? That shows that you've done your research. So that's one critical component, right, of answering that question. What else?
Maybe what you could add to the company, like based on the experience you've had.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you can get into what you could add, but backtracking just a tad, you want to talk about the position, right? And well, I mean, I think that's what you're getting at, Camille, is that there's this position to which you applied, and you certainly want to bring that up. And then you want to talk about why that position is attractive to you and how you're a good fit for that position, right? So even though, well, they are kind of asking that, right? Why are you interested in this position? So you want to definitely tie in your skills to what it is about the position that you want. So remember those two things, right? Position, why you're interested in it, how your skills kind of meet the needs of that position, and then what is it about the entity that is particularly attractive to you. And so, like, people that apply for a faculty position in our department at Cal Poly, when we ask this question, we always do, why are you interested in whatever position, you know, that we've hired? I'm looking for something about the position, and also that they know something about Cal Poly. They know that we focus on undergraduate education, that our curriculum is largely learned by doing and lab-based, and that they want to do that, right? And if they haven't done their research and if they don't know that, then that kind of tells me that, you know, maybe they didn't put in the time that they needed to research this position. They should have, right? Any questions about that? No? You're good? Okay. I probably will ask you this question. So be ready. Okay. Here's kind of a situational type of question. Describe a situation where you responded to a valid criticism of your performance by a supervisor. And you know, there's all different types of scenarios that you can ask related to this type of question. So let's talk strategy. So Natalie, can I call on you?
Yeah. Sorry, what was I was getting out a piece of paper so I could write these down, but what
Yeah. So if you look at a question like this, or if you get a question like this, what is a strategy to kind of take care of a question like this in a good, productive way?
I would say I would describe the situation or the problem that I had and then highlight like the skills that I used in order to fix it and what the outcome was and what I learned.
That is so great, right? So that's exactly what you want to do. So I'll just reiterate what Natalie said, and probably many of you are thinking, right? So you want to describe something that's real, right? And that's true. And you want to talk about how you responded to it and how you, the steps that you've took to sort of address it in your own life to overcome it, or what you're doing right now to overcome it. And if you can't think of something, well, this preparation that we're doing right now is hopefully helping you know, kind of get the wheels turning to give you an idea. But if it's not a job, for example, you can think about a class maybe that you had, a group project. You could think about maybe it's not a supervisor, right? Maybe you can't think of something like that. So maybe it's a peer. So you need to just kind of be thinking about, if you can't really come up with an example for the specific scenario that's presented to you, change it a little bit so that you can. Okay, and we all have growth areas in our lives, and it's not bad to have growth areas. It's very positive to be able to recognize your growth areas and figure out ways to address those growth areas. And one thing that's positive about having a supervisor is they're going to help, hopefully, right? If they're a good mentor, they're going to help address some growth areas and maybe, hopefully, provide you some tools about how to address them and work through them. Okay. So here's another one, right? Describe a conflict in the workplace or through Cal Poly coursework and steps you took to resolve that conflict. So we're just going to talk in general terms again about strategy, right? So Spencer, let's talk about strategy here. What's your strategy to address this issue or this question? Spencer, are you there? Maybe not. Josh, how about you?
Yeah, I think it's a lot like the last question where you'd kind of talk about a situation where that happened to you and then like the 1 or 2 steps you took to fixing it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. As you think about it right now, and you can just show me by a raise of hands, can you think about a situation where you experienced a conflict, either in a job or through your Cal Poly coursework? And I would say if you've done any group projects with other students, you probably experienced a conflict. Not always, but likely. Can you think of anything? You don't have to say it out loud. I just want you to think about that. All right. Okay. Let's see. Here's some other questions, right? Tell me about yourself. Why did we apply for the job? We talked about that. What are your strengths? What's your biggest weakness? Right? Those are questions that are, those last two, right, are assessing, one, your fit for the job, right? That's what your strengths are. So as you think about any question in the interview, you want to sort of filter it through the job, right? What are they looking for in this position? And how can I tailor the response of these questions to the job that I'm applying for? Okay, so if you're applying for, right, a groundwater hydrologist position that requires you to have some pretty good technical skills and also field skills, you want to answer the question of what are your strengths in light of the position, right? I'm detail oriented, I keep good records, I have a lot of experience with these, field tools that we use to assess, groundwater flow, contaminant transport, etc. So it's just one example, right? But you're marketing yourself and all the responses that you give to the position as much as you can, right? And some strengths that you have are going to be generic to any position, right? And a strength certainly is that you work well with others, that you can also work well independently, right? That you're organized or whatever, right? That you're nice, you're easy to be with, right? Those are all very positive and good strengths to have. Your biggest weakness, right? That might be a little bit harder to assess. Maybe it's not. Like when I do reference checks for people that are applying for a job, oftentimes the people that ask me a question about somebody, they'll say, what do you think their weaknesses are? What do you think their growth areas are? And those are harder things to come up with a lot of times. And as you think about yourself, you're going to have some weaknesses, right? Or some growth areas. So be honest about those, right? And you don't want to use sort of a fake one, right? Like I'm too much of a perfectionist, I care too much, right? Those kinds of things. So you want to come up with a good one. And here's one for me, for example. And I have not completely overcome it, but largely overcome it. But I used to miss meetings all the time. And it's a problem, right? When you have meetings that are scheduled with other people and you miss them, it's disrespectful. It's not being very organized with your time. And I realized that that was a weakness that I needed to overcome. And so I just started really creating a good and detailed calendar system, right? And then beyond just creating the good calendar is that I made sure that every night, kind of not the very last thing that I did, but one of the very last things I did, I look at my calendar and see what was in store the next day and made sure that I was prepared for whatever was coming and that I knew what my schedule of meetings were. And that's been super helpful. Super helpful.
I have a question about the weakness question.
Yeah.
So, like if they ask what's your biggest weakness and you kind of give an answer, that's like if you say like weakness is I work too hard, or like compliments like that, or like kind of like hidden strengths, do those hurt you in an interview? Like are people looking for weaknesses that show like vulnerability or?
Yeah, so like the sort of complementary weaknesses, like I work too hard, I care too much, etc. I'm a perfectionist, right? Those, I would stay away from those, right? I mean, you present your weakness in a way that's, and I think we talked about this or addressed this before in the 2 previous slides, is that, okay, I have this weakness, I recognized it, and here's what I'm doing to address it. Right? You don't want to just throw out a weakness and say, that's my weakness, right? Or this is my growth area. You want to talk about the plan that you're implementing to address that weakness, right? Thank you for bringing that up, Max. That's an excellent point. Okay, other questions?
I have a question as well.
Okay.
So for me, I've worked at a lot of jobs where I have to deal with customers like one-on-one. So I say that one of my strengths is that I'm very social and I could easily talk to people. So when they ask for my weakness, I usually say that my strength is also my weakness, because with my coworkers, I could get distracted and things like that. So do you suggest doing that, like taking a spin on the question, or just pick something else?
No, I mean, that's a good question. That one to me sounds pretty honest, right? Is that you know, that can cause you to become distracted, but you then need to address, so what are you doing about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, other questions or comments?
I'm just wondering what they're looking for when you're supposed to like tell them about yourself.
Yes, great question. So let's go back to this. Tell me about yourself, right? So tell me about yourself can go a lot of ways, but like we've talked about with kind of the whole idea behind the interview is that you want to tell them about you, right? So they kind of get a background of who you are. And a lot of that has to do with your training and your qualifications for the position, right? So think about the position and think about how, when you're talking about yourself, that kind of fits for the position, you know, and if you can be, can't think of the word that I'm thinking about, honest about what it is. So for example, if I was interviewing for a position and the most recent interview I've gone through was for teaching in an international program in Spain. And when they asked me to tell them about myself, you know, one of the things that I'm going to talk about is how that I really love to work with students. Like that's one of the things that I really love about my job. I feel like my experiences in working at Cal Poly for the last 19 years or so have kind of reaffirmed that in my mind, right? Those are things that are true and legitimate, but also sort of feed into what the position is about, right? So that's a good question, Josh. Other questions? All right, so let's do this. We have about 5 minutes, I think, before Megan is going to join us. So I'm going to break you into groups of about 3 people. And I'd like you to think about the position that you're applying to, right? That's on your resume and your cover letter. And answer this question to the people that you're going to be in your breakout room with. Why are you interested in the position? So before you answer it, tell them kind of the gist of the job, right? Tell them what the name of the position is and who it's for. And then when you answer, right, why are you interested in this position? So someone else in your breakout room ask the question, you know, like, Justin, why are you interested in the environmental scientist position with Rincon Consulting, for example, right? I'm in Justin's group. So when Justin answers that, he needs to use the strategy, right? What is it about Rincon? What is it about the environmental scientist position, right? So think about those strategies as you're answering this question. Okay? Do you have any questions? So let's talk about who's going first. So Caitlin, you're going first, and then Emily, and then Jacob, Max, Madeline, and so forth. And each of those will take 10 minutes, right? And so on the first day of interviews, we'll go from Caitlin to Natalie. And then on the second day of presentations, we're gonna start with Catherine, go to Josh, and then finish with Allie, okay? And so on the second day of presentations, Natalie, I'll just ask you to come to the first interview, which is with Catherine on that day. Okay, so you'll just show up for the first 10 minutes, be a panelist on the interview. You don't need to dress up that time unless you want to. And then when that's done, then Catherine will stay, you'll leave, and Catherine will be there for Josh's interview. Okay? Any questions about that?
Do we have class on the 25th?
No. So good question. So we don't have class on the 25th because that is Memorial Day holiday.
Do you know if all classes are going to be canceled?
Well, it's a holiday, so yes, I assume. But like if your class is asynchronously meeting, and your instructor is providing content for you to look at, I'm assuming that they will meter the content that they're posting for you in taking into account that holiday. Okay? But for any class that meets synchronously like ours, right, those classes will not meet because it is a legal federal holiday.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Other questions? All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Megan Groom. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can see Megan. And Megan, do you need to be able to share your screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, you now have the power.
Excellent. Hi, everyone. It's good to see your faces, even if it's just on video. For those of you who may not know, I am the academic advisor for the department. So Dr. Pell has been kind enough to let me come to your class because I'm just here to kind of review some common academic policies. I sent you all, emailed you all personalized curriculum sheets. Did anyone not get one? No? Okay, good.
I think they got 2 because I did it too.
Cool, great.
Yeah.
Double the fun. Basically, I'm here to make sure you guys can graduate on time. So if there's any questions during this time, we can ask. I also want to let you know advising is open during all this time. So if you want to set up a Zoom with me, you can also email me, or a Zoom with my peer advisors. They're also available. So normally I do this advising review as like a quiz, and I bring candy. But I don't have candy for you, so when we all come back face to face, you'll have to swing by my office and I'll give you guys candy or something. Looks like my husband and kids decided to set up a game right outside on our patio, so I just gotta close this really quick. He's in charge of PE time, so he's playing games with them. Alrighty, let's try that again. Okay. Okay, so to start off our advising quiz, how well do you know your curriculum? And you guys can just unmute and say the answers if you know it, okay? And you'll get a point. We'll give points or something. Okay, oh no. Okay, 4, Earth and Soil Science only. I know we have ENVM and Earth and Soil Science here. Geography 301, Geography of Resource Utilization, which was a part of your major in your curriculum when you first started, and it was a D5. It's no longer being offered by the Geography department. So what class are you supposed to take?
308.
Yay, winner, point for you. Geography 308 is the new class you can take to fulfill your D5. It's currently only being offered fall and winter by the Geography department. Nice job. All right, this is for both majors. When you all started, the department had 476, 77, 78, 79 were your senior project options. Those senior project options are no longer available. Those senior project capstone has been moved to another class, but what do you need to do to fulfill the 3 units where 476, 77, 78 are no longer there?
Is it NR 418?
Well, it used to be. Yes, that could fulfill the option. Anyone else?
Any upper division, like 300, 400 class in a certain category, like NR and
Nice,
soil
Janelle.
science.
Nice, yeah, super close. Any upper division approved elective. So EESS, NR 418 was originally what was asked of you, but now it could be NR 418, or it can be any upper division approved elective. So do you guys know where to find your upper division approved electives? Well, first of all, upper division means 300 or 400, right? And then does anyone know where to find your approved electives?
Isn't it on
the curriculum sheet?
Curriculum sheet's a good option. Or catalog.calpoly, and you find your specific catalog. It's another good option. Good. Does everyone know what I mean when I say you're missing 3 units? Are there any questions with this? There tends to be a lot of confusion. So the component, the senior project component, has now for EESS moved into soil physics. So you will fulfill the component that the CSU requires for your senior project in soil physics. You just still are missing units. And then for ENVM, it's in 465. So you all still have to do 465 or 424 and your upper division approved elective. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Does this upper division approved elective count? Like for me, I'm not picking a concentration, so can it count for one of those approved electives, or is it something separate, like those 5 classes and then this upper division course?
So you're not doing a concentration, correct?
Yeah, I'm taking the
approved electives. Okay, I'm going to show you a different screen really quick, okay? It might be a little easier. In essence, what you were asking is correct. Basically, in a way, your approved electives is getting a little bit bigger. So my peer advisor is sweet enough to let me show you her DPR. Okay, so you can see this all on your degree progress report now, so I'd encourage you to look at it when we're done with this. So here's your degree progress report. Everyone knows what this is, right? This is what awards you your degree. This is your golden ticket, okay? So this shows all your classes complete, in progress, what you're missing. If you scroll, we're gonna scroll all the way down to where senior project used to be. So right after 465, there's a little note and there's nothing there. So now we need to keep scrolling a little bit more until it's right above your approved electives area. So if you're doing a non-concentration, here are your approved electives, 29 units for ENVM, right up here. It says 476, 77 option, and basically it took the first approved elective that it could. So her approved electives in a way went from 29 to 32. This one just specifically has to be upper division. Okay, cool. Alrighty, back to this. So yes, any upper division approved elective, great. Okay, so on your curriculum sheets that I sent you, and right at the top of the degree progress report, you have total units and you have upper division units. Do you need to fulfill both of those, or can it just be one of them? Just pick one or both. Can I pick on someone, Chip?
Absolutely.
Emma.
Both.
Correct. See, you got it right. That was awesome. It's really important that you pay attention to both. So here's how it works. You have a list of all your degree requirements. So your A1, A2, your NR courses, your soil science courses, and you have your total units and your upper division units. They're different, and here's why. You might do such a good job here, and you might start double counting classes where maybe your C4 also counts as an approved elective and your D5 counts as an approved elective, that you fulfill all your requirements, but you might be short total units or upper division units. So on your curriculum sheet, we wrote 20 total units needed, 16 upper division. What you should do is go and make sure and look at the classes and make sure if I have 20 total units, that should typically be 5 4-unit classes. If you only have 4 required classes left, you're short total units. So do the math, check off all the classes, see what it adds up to, make sure it meets or exceeds your total or upper division units. Any questions with that?
So it's not necessarily like a good thing if you take a class and it counts for 2 things?
It can be. So this is where it depends. If you've brought in a lot of extra AP credits, so you have more than the typical 12 units of free electives you need, then you have room to double count. Or if you do double count, it opens up free electives. So maybe you always wanted to take beekeeping, or you want to take a yoga class every quarter. Now you could take maybe something else you're interested in. So you can. It's a very strategic way of doing things. You just have to pay attention to fulfill degree requirements. Pretty much 99.9% of all transfer students don't have to worry about meeting their total units because they've brought so many extra free electives from their community college. Okay. Okay, for those of you who are hopefully getting closer to graduation, does your expected graduation term have to be the same term you want to walk in commencement? Justin?
No.
Oh, sorry, what?
No.
Correct. So typically when we have a live commencement, this spring being the exception, winter expected grads, meaning you're done with all your degree requirements in winter. Spring and summer are automatically eligible to walk in spring commencement. Cool? And then fall walks in fall commencement. When your gauge on your poly profile hits 72%, you will automatically be given an expected grad term by the Office of the Registrar 3 quarters out. It may or may not be correct, but it's really important when you get emails from the Office of the Registrar, you check, because if it's not correct, let's say that, so all transfers get 3 full years. And so they'll automatically put them at 3 years, spring 2021. You need to be like, no, I'm finishing this spring 2020. Because if not, they won't award your degree till spring 2021. So make sure your expected grad term is the term when all degree requirements are done. A lot of students will finish their major classes in spring and then take their one last GE summer at Foothill or community college. Then summer is your expected grad term. Still get to walk in spring, but summer is when all your degree requirements are done. Okay. Oh, see, I already gave you the answer. Okay, so if your expected grad term is not correct, there's a form, and I have to sign it if you're extending your grad term. If you want to move it earlier, you can do that yourself. And the nice thing is all these forms we used to have are now online. So I'll show you that webpage later. Okay, so what are the 2 ways that you can fulfill the graduate writing requirement? You all have this requirement in order to graduate.
Either in a class or taking the test itself.
Perfect. What class? What GE area is it?
I think C4.
Correct. Winner, winner. Oh. Yes. So you have to specifically choose a C4 that has the GWR component a part of it. So that means you don't have to pay for the exam. Most professors will give you 2 chances to take that writing proficiency portion in the class. What you're doing is you're writing a 500 to 800 word persuasive argumentative essay. So should Cal Poly be a time of vocational training or a time to explore who you are? Something like that has been a topic recently. You need to come up and persuade what your reasoning is and what your opinion is. So that's kind of what you're looking for. If you look at the C4 classes with the GWR and you're like, that's not what I'm interested in taking, I'd rather take something else, you can pick a different C4, and at some point you will have to take that writing proficiency exam. It's only offered 1 time a quarter. It's $35, and you sign up through the Writing Center. Once you've hit 72%, again, on your gauge, you're sent emails at the beginning, the first week of every quarter saying, here's your registration time if you choose to sign up, because seniors will get priority, those who are graduating sooner, priority to take it. Is anybody here graduating spring or summer? Can't see everyone, but any spring or summer grads? All right, we got 1. Camille, at least that I can see. Cool. So Camille, have you checked your DPR? You guys got an exception because of what's going on. Your degree progress report should have already, you got an exception. You don't have to take the GWR. Has it been checked off for you?
I haven't checked that it's been checked off, but either way, I'm actually taking a class that fulfills the GWR right now, so yeah.
If there's anybody else who didn't, you have an exception due to what is happening in spring and or summer grads, do not have to take the graduate writing requirement. If anyone is finishing fall, that is yet to be determined. Okay? Alrighty. So the other requirement you have that's not part of your major classes is the USCP, United States Cultural Pluralism requirement. How do you fulfill that requirement? Anyone? Brianna?
You take a class?
Correct. The only way to fulfill this is through a class. And I should have updated it. We don't have pass anymore. I apologize. So you have to be careful with this one because it's only in the GE section normally, maybe an approved elective, and it's only through a class. You can't take a test. So you want to make sure that when you look through your degree progress report that this requirement is checked off, or if you only have a couple GEs left, you make sure you take a GE that also has that United States Cultural Pluralism requirement. Okay, that's really important. Okay, so outside of this quarter and summer, once we come back, if the policy doesn't change, what classes can you normally take as credit, no credit? Again, outside of this spring and summer. Emma?
GE classes, right?
Correct. For both of your majors, it is GE classes, but only 1. Okay, only 1. So for this quarter, how is credit, no credit working? For both of your majors, it's the same policy, if that helps.
Isn't it up to the 9th week-ish, 8th week, you can decide whether you want to take a class, credit, no credit or not?
Correct, that is right. So your department has decided that you may take any major, any support, any GE, any minor, any approved elective, basically any of your classes, credit, no credit. You may choose one of the classes, 2 of them, all of them. You have up until June 5th, which is the last day of classes, to make this decision. So hopefully you'll have a really good idea of where you are in the class. And you would make this decision in your student center. When you go to student center and you go to the edit button, it allows you to change it to graded, no graded. Credit, no credit. So if you were to choose credit or no credit, does that affect your GPA? Max?
I think it does, but I'm not sure.
Okay, good guess, but no, actually it doesn't. So credit, no credit will not hurt your GPA. It won't help your GPA. So if you chose all your classes credit, no credit this quarter, your GPA would be exactly the same as last quarter. What grade do you need to get and or better in order to receive credit in the class? Nicole?
You need at least a D, I want to say.
Not quite. You want to try again?
C.
Down.
Minus.
Yay, there we go. Perfect. Okay, so in order to get credit in a class, you have to have a C- or higher. So a couple things with this. If you're taking a class for grade forgiveness, you need to take it graded. You won't get the grade forgiveness if you choose credit, no credit. If you are close to the C- D range, probably better to keep it graded, because for most of your classes, a D would be considered passing, where no credit means you have to take the class over again. And be really careful if it's a major class only offered spring quarter. So are there any other questions? I know this is a little bit confusing, so I want to make sure you guys really understand this policy.
A quick question.
Yeah.
Does this affect your application to graduate school, the credit, no credit?
I will answer that, and then Dr. Pell, if you want to jump in on that. It can depend. Depending on what class you're referring to, I think depending on what kind of grad program you want to go to, in general, I would say colleges will be understanding of this time, but you cannot say for certain what their policy is, and every school could be different. I think what we've heard in general and from a lot of different department heads and faculty is that if you're considering grad school and you're in a major specific class for a program you're wanting, to probably keeping it graded is your best option. But Dr. Pell, do you have any thoughts on that?
I agree on that. Yeah, if you're going to go to or thinking about going to graduate school and it's a class that you think is going to be important for the discipline that you're going into, and that'd be major support. It could even be a GE class that might be critical. Then I would strongly encourage you to take it for a grade. And the same goes, and this is, I think, outside of this class largely, but if you're thinking about changing your major and the class that you're taking is applying to a major change, then that should be taken for a grade as well.
Correct. And if any of you are doing Cal Poly summer classes, this credit, no credit policy is currently extending into summer. So you could be taking more classes, credit, no credit, in summer. Okay. So, okay, pass has gone. Oh boy, you have something else new to learn this quarter. It's called Schedule Builder. When does it open for fall classes? So when are we gonna be registering for classes? Does anyone know? This one's kind of a hard one. All right, I'll just tell you on this one. It has been pushed back to Schedule Builder will open June 4th, but you aren't going to be registering until June 15th. That is after finals week. A little different. So just make sure that you have that on your calendar. It's been pushed back to allow the university time to decide how classes are going to be offered in the fall, give us as much time as possible to know what's going on in the state and all that kind of stuff. So advising will be open during that time. So if you guys have questions, I will be around. My peer advisors hopefully will be around. But keep that on the back of your mind. Schedule Builder, It is a little different than past, so I would definitely recommend that you try and get in there beforehand and play around a little bit with it. The nice part is there's some more filters, so you can say if I'm working a job, you can block out times that you're working. You can register right from Schedule Builder, so you're not pushing your classes from past to Student Center. Right in Schedule Builder, you are registering for your classes. But it does take just a little bit of playing around to kind of get the hang of it at first. Okay, so let's say you're getting close to graduating. Does anyone know how you get your diploma? No? It is sent to your mailing address. So you don't have to do anything, which is the nice part. So one thing to keep in mind is that for any of you who are graduating this spring or summer, you may have let's say a San Luis mailing address. Well, if you're not going to be here, you can't get access to it. You'll want to update your mailing address to wherever it's going to be, because it'll take like a month after all grades are posted when your degree is awarded. Okay, you passed the quiz. Great job, everybody. Give yourselves a round of applause. Okay, so I just wanted to take a moment to see if you guys have any other questions with your either Schedule Builder or there's now Degree Planner, which has replaced Poly Planner. Have any of you looked at your curriculum sheets and have any questions for me, or Dr. Pell, are we out of time?
No, there's time for questions for sure.
Megan, I have a question. So for the GWR and the USCP requirements, will that be listed in Schedule Builder? Like which classes count for that, or where do you see what classes count for that?
Correct, yes. In Schedule Builder, just kind of like there was in past, I don't know if you ever noticed in past, there's a little box where you can say, find me only USCP classes, or find me only C4 graduate writing requirement classes, correct? And when you click on the class description, you can click on the class and it'll expand to show you the prerequisites, the catalog description. It should state in there, fulfills graduate writing requirement or fulfills USCP. So just make sure and read it closely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have another question as well.
Yeah.
So for the approved electives, is there a limit as to how many classes you could take for like a department? Like for NR, can it take 6 classes, or is there a max of classes that you could take?
No, you can take one from plant science, one from WINVIT, one from city regional planning, or you can focus it in the way that you want for them to be all NR courses.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
For the diploma,
yes.
If I'm graduating this quarter, when would be the latest time that I should be updating my address?
That is a good question. They've never really given us a deadline. I would probably do it by like the 7th or 8th week. Degrees are awarded when grades are posted, which is a few weeks later, and then they have to be printed and packaged and mailed. So I'm sure even if you waited, it would be okay. I'm a low risk kind of person. I wouldn't want to miss getting that. Congratulations, by the way, Janelle. I'm very excited for you.
Thank you.
Does everything look green and gold on your degree progress report?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Janelle's awesome. We've chatted a lot, and she's going to graduate in time. You don't want to get to your last quarter and come see me, and I'm going to be like, surprise, you're missing this. That's the worst news, and it happens every year, so don't be one of those students. Any other?
Yeah. So there's three classes that I have to take in the fall that are only offered in the fall. What happens if like one of the classes like overlaps with the other class?
Correct. What major are you?
EESS.
Perfect. So I'm guessing it's structural geology, ERSC 303, and soil chemistry.
Yeah.
Perfect. So the department is aware that most of our EES students will be taking those classes, often all at the same time in fall. So our awesome scheduler, who's Dr. Gill, works with the other departments to make sure that there's not an overlap. If there ever is an issue, then you get to go see Dr. Pell. Say help. We normally fix it if that's ever an issue because there are a lot of you who will be taking that. So yes, for all EESS students, those 3 classes, soil and water chemistry, structural geology, and then soil erosion are only fall. It's really important you pay attention to the prereqs and make sure you have the prereqs in time for fall. Janelle and Olivia are smiling because they know what I'm talking about. Yes.
Sorry, I also have another question. So when I took physics, like the first physics, I think it was almost 2 years ago, I like passed the class, but I got a D. Do I have to retake the class to get into soil physics? Like, am I supposed to have a C minus?
That is a great question. So what we want to do is we want to go look at the catalog. Ooh, what's going on here? Sorry, guys. That's not what I wanted. So if you go to catalog.calpoly, and are you asking for soil physics? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay. So here is soil physics, and it does have a prereq of physics, but it doesn't say physics with a C minus or better. So therefore, you don't technically need to. It would be, it could be good though to talk with Dr. Malama, is the one who teaches it, to see if what he recommends. But unless the catalog states you have to have that class with a C minus or better, then a D is considered passing. You just want to make sure you have a good understanding of physics.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Next.
If I have specific questions about like minors, who do I like talk to about that? Is it like directly to you or?
Well, so I guess it would kind of depend on what questions that you have. If it's where do I find minors, or will it be approved, or what are the requirements? Those are things that we can find online. If you want to talk to someone more about the specific minor, then every minor has a minor advisor. So for example, Dr. Pell is a minor advisor for 2 minors.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
For the land rehab minor and environmental soil science minor. So if you want it to be like, what does this minor teach me and what can I learn from this? Then you could shoot him an email or talk to him about it. So what question did you have about the minor?
I'm like in between several minors. I don't know which one to pick. So I guess because I kind of looked at the requirements already of like, oh, what should I take and what classes have I already like fulfilled that like I could apply towards that minor. So
yeah, so talking with the minor coordinators is a great idea. You know, it can come down to timing too. Some minors overlap more with our majors, some don't. I can talk you through a few of them, but I also talking to minor coordinators are the ones who are the specialist in their minor. So they know the most about it. I'm the one who's going to help you plan it and time it out and all that kind of stuff.
Got you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, y'all. So if any of you got those curriculum sheets and have any questions, if you just send an email to cafesadvising@calpoly.edu, you can ask for an appointment or ask some questions or ask to set up a Zoom with me. I'm currently doing Zoom appointments every day from like noon to 4 in the afternoons. So I'm more than happy to Zoom and we can chat about anything if you have any questions.
I still have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead, Spencer.
For concentrations, I've been doing the units for the hydrology concentration, but I haven't declared it yet. Is it still like, when do you think I should declare it?
Well, so that's going to kind of depend up to you. If you brought in some free electives, it can actually kind of hurt your registration to declare it soon. So normally I say after you've taken 2 or 3 classes in the concentration and you know that you really want to do it, then that can be a good time to declare it, because then it helps you follow. We make sure that you're on progress and all of that kind of stuff.
Okay.
It's okay to wait a little bit.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, and then, that process has changed too. So now on registrar.calpoly under student forms, there is an automatic link for you to declare concentration. No more form, you just fill it out. It's great.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
What about the email to CP.2? Would the students not do that anymore for declaring the concentration?
Don't. You want me to show you?
Yeah, for sure.
It's the little things that you get really excited about when you're an advisor and you deal with a lot of paperwork. Oh, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Okay, so registrar.calpoly, lots of info on this website. If you go to forms and then you go to student forms, There's all different kinds of forms here. And down. Oh, wait. No, I'm so sorry. We actually put this on our website. See, even I'm learning where things are. Okay, nrs.calpoly, you go to advising, and where did we put it? Right here. Declare concentration, this form right here. It takes you to what's called an E form, and once you start filling out your info, it'll start opening up other pages, and it will get sent directly to evaluations, and they will process that. Nifty, huh? All right, y'all, thank you so much for your time. It was great to see some of y'all that I haven't seen in a long time. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy. Thanks for letting me come. I appreciate it.
We're so grateful that you came. You did a degree progress for every single student in the class.
Well, I want them all to graduate.
It's so nice of you to do that. Thank you.
Yeah,
for doing it.
no problem. All
All
right,
right.
see you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Do you have any questions for me? Because the last thing that I'd like to talk to you about is since today is actually the last time that we're going to meet where I'm going to talk to you about sort of course related things, because next week we have mock interviews for half of you, then we have a holiday, and then we have mock interviews for the next half of you, and then the Monday of finals week is when you're going to give your Odyssey plan presentation. So today's the last day, and the only thing that I have left to talk to you about is what that presentation looks like and to talk about it a little bit. But I wanted to give you an opportunity to ask any last questions that you might have. Anything? Nope. Good? Okay. So let me show you that part. Okay, so for your, let's see. Sorry. Do you all see a full screen or no?
No, it's just the like outline of it, or
Just the tiles.
All of them, yeah.
And now? No? Still no. Okay. Let me try this again. Okay. So your Odyssey plan, you've done several worksheets now related to that, actually. The first 3 assignments that you've done from the book are sort of building towards this. And the goal is approximately 5 minutes. So if you speak between 4 and 6 minutes, then you're in range for what I'm hoping for. And you want to have a title slide which has your name on it, some image, and I would suggest that the image that you include on that would be a component of the Odyssey plan called the symbol. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Your expected graduation quarter, and then some type of opening that will sort of give the audience some more idea about who you are and something related to your Odyssey plan or plans. The content is going to be your Odyssey plan, and then the conclusion, one part of your Odyssey plan, is a thank you note. And a thank you note is just a note that is essentially you writing a letter to yourself in the future and thanking you for the things that you feel like you're going to accomplish both personally and professionally. Okay, so it's all theoretical and it's all, sort of hoped for things, but I think those things are good to articulate. And I'm not looking for a full written note here. I'm just looking for a few bullet points that you would want to say to yourself, 10 years in the future about these sort of personal and professional milestones. Okay, so let's see. So if we talk about the components now of the Odyssey plan, I want you to come up, and this is related to the last assignment that you just did, right? And these are the Odyssey plan exercise. And the Odyssey plan exercise, right, has a timeline that you turned in, and then below the timeline is the dashboard, right? And the dashboard has different gauges about resources, do you like it, confidence in doing it, and the coherence of the plan. And then it has a 6-word title, and it has the questions that the plan addresses, right? And the questions that the plan addresses are kind of up to you. But if you think about where this information is in the book, it's pages 99 to 102, right? So I want you to come up with, and you've done this actually already, and hopefully they're plans that you thought about. And if they're not, then you can kind of go ahead and do it again for your presentation. But come up with some personal and professional milestones that you'd like to accomplish post Cal Poly and 5 years looking into the future. Okay. And then beyond that, I want you to pick one of those, and one of those is going to be your 10-year plan. Okay. And basically your 10-year plan is just the one that you are thinking about that's maybe most likely, right, for you to accomplish, or the one that's most attractive to you, right? And basically talk about that a little bit more, about why that plan resonates more with you. Okay, and again, when you're thinking about putting together a presentation, right, you have the diagrams that you've come up with that were associated with the book, right? But use some other diagrams that pictorially describe sort of aspects of your plan. So if one of the milestones in your plan is that you want to travel and live somewhere abroad, then include a picture of that place that you want to live in, right? And if it's doing a certain job, include a picture that is doing that job, okay? So 3 5-year post-Cal Poly plans or timelines, basically identical to what the exercise that you already did, unless you want to change those, and you totally can change those if you want to. And then pick one, right? And that one is the one that you're going to redo out to 10 years, okay? And talk about, again, why this plan resonates with you. And you want the same kinds of things, right? The dashboard, the questions, and the 6-word title, okay? And then you want to develop a symbol, right? And a symbol is sort of some type of image that somehow depicts what your life plan means to you. And there's some good examples on the internet that I'll show you in just a minute. It could also be your sort of how you relate to your plan kind of more on an emotional level. okay? And then you're going to conclude with your thank you note, where you're just going to take some excerpts out of the thank you note. And the thank you note is the one that you would be writing to yourself 10 years from now, thanking you for choosing this Odyssey plan and for accomplishing some of the things that you envision yourself accomplishing in the future. Okay? And again, this is a guide, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be adhered to, but you generally don't accomplish too much unless you have a guide or you have a plan. But as you go into your life, right, there's a lot of things in your lives that are going to change, and that's okay too. Okay? So, do you have any questions about this?
For the Odyssey plan, are we're presenting all 3 parts of that section?
Yeah. So for your Odyssey plan, you're going to have your title slide, right? And then after that, you got all these 3 parts, right? The 3 parts, and then your conclusion is just a few bullet points related to what you might find in your thinking.
And the timeline is supposed to start after we graduate? Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So all of it post Cal Poly.
And do those, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Camille.
Do those 3 plans have to be the same ones we put in the assignment that we submitted earlier today, or can they be different, or how is it supposed to?
No, that's a great question. So the question that Camille asks is, can the 3 5-year post-Cal Poly plans be different than the ones that you submitted for your assignment? Absolutely. You can change them entirely. And if they're drawn out sketches that you did that you want to scan and upload onto your presentation as images, that's fine, right? So sketches are totally fine.
I have 2 questions. So the first one, so we're gonna have a 10-year plan that's like we choose one of the 5 and then we're basically just gonna add 5 more years to it, right? Or are we gonna add 10 more years?
No, that's a great question. So the question that Allie asked, this has to do with your 10-year plan. So essentially your 10-year plan is 10 years post Cal Poly. So you're just adding 5 years on to one of your 3 plans.
And then my second question is, are there any examples of like slides that people have done in the past that you would share with us?
Yeah, so that's a great question too. So I don't personally have any because I've never used this book before and I've never had this type of assignment before. I've had some assignments that are sort of similar, but they don't have these aspects to them. So I've looked on just doing a YouTube search, and there are some on YouTube that you can find. And then on the course website, I've just organized a bunch of Odyssey plan. They're like 1 to 2 minute YouTube video clips where the authors of the book go through the different components of the Odyssey plan. And so you can get a better idea. I would strongly encourage you to look at those YouTube video clips. To look at all of the ones that I've posted is probably take you like 10 minutes. And I think I have 5 posted, and they're very helpful. Anything else? So there is a rubric that I will post for this, and it's somewhat similar to the other rubric that I use for the research article presentation. However, you don't have to dress up for this one. You just dress in whatever regular clothes you want to wear. And I think, and something that the authors also say about this from the book is that it's super helpful to present this type of thing, because when you present it, it, I think, gives it more credibility in your own mind and helps it resonate more as something that's, you know, you're really thinking about. That, hey, this is my life, and this is something that I could do in the future. And it's totally great to dream big, right? I'm sure you all have hopes and dreams for what the future could hold for you, right? And don't just think of it in terms of like professionally what you want to accomplish. You know, as much as you're willing to share with the class, think about it also in terms of like, what are some personal milestones that you have, you know, for what's in store. You know, do you, and from 10 years from now, do you want to have a family and 10 children, you know, or one child, whatever, right? Include that. That's certainly a huge milestone. Anything else?
Did you mention when we're presenting?
Yeah, great question. So I did, but perhaps I wasn't very clear in that. So you're going to present the very last day of, well, you're going to present the Monday of finals week. And we're, I think I put from 3 to 5. Let me check though on the schedule. Nope, 3 to 6. 3 to 6, Monday, June 8th. And it's on the syllabus too. And like, I'm really looking forward to seeing what you come up with, because this is going to help me get to know you and sort of what your aspirations are, you know, going forward. And for me, that's really exciting. Other questions? Okay. So just to reiterate, next week, only half of you are going to meet. For those half that are meeting, I will send you a Zoom meeting request, and you will show up at that Zoom meeting in the waiting room. And if you're not going at the very beginning, you don't need to show up, right? I would encourage you to show up like 10 minutes before it's your time to show up in the waiting room. You just don't want to be late for your interview, right? But like, for example, if you're number 10 or number 11 on that day, you know, show up at like 4:30 or so, okay? Instead of 3 o'clock. Yeah.
Just to be clear, so you said that I'm showing up, so I show up for the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes for me because I'm last and you wanted me to.
Yeah, so for you, you are the last interviewee on the first day. So next week, right, May 18th. You just need to come to the very end of the day. So I would kind of show up to the waiting room around 4:30 or 4:40.
Okay. Earlier I thought you said to show up for the first 10 minutes to be the panel person, but never mind. I must have misheard that.
And then on June 4th, that's when you need to show up for the first 10 minutes.
Okay.
So show up at 3 o'clock. You'll be a panelist on that one.
Okay.
And you're the only one that applies to.
Yay.
It's special. All right, thanks, Natalie. Any other questions? Okay, well, have a good rest of your week, and I'll see half of you next week, the other half in 2 weeks, and then all of you in finals week. Okay? Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to see you all.
Chip, I had a question.
Yeah.
So for our interview next week, so since I'm moving to Oregon and I've been looking for jobs and I just found one today earlier that was like a job that I'm really interested in and like my qualifications match a lot better for this one. Is it okay if I send you my, like if I made like an updated cover letter and job resume by tomorrow, if I could send you that along with the thing? If not, that's totally fine. I just wanted to.
That's totally fine. So you could, you don't need to do another cover letter, just a
Okay.
new resume.
Just a new resume. Okay. And then along with the job description. Okay.
What's the
Awesome.
job?
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Have a nice day.
Yeah, what's the job, Janelle?
Oh, so I was looking at two of them. One is a natural resource specialist, and it's like the most basic position. So like I have basically all the qualifications, or I have all the qualifications for it. And it's up in Portland. Like my brother lives in Lake Oswego, so right under it. So this